It was a quiet night on the edge of the human settlement on planet Orvo 3. The stars above were cold and sharp, and wind blew dust over the small metal house where Cole lived alone. He had just finished his simple dinner, some bread and stew, and was about to lie down when he heard something. A soft knock, not loud but just enough to stop him. Cole stood still. There it was again. Not a knock this time, but a soft scratching, like fingers on the outer metal door. No one ever came out here, especially not at night. Most people were afraid of the things that moved in the dark. Cautiously, he walked to the door, picked up his old plasma torch, and opened it slowly. A gust of cold air blew in, and there, standing on the step, was a tiny alien girl. She was shivering, barefoot, and dressed in torn cloth that barely covered her small frame. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and glowing faintly, like moons in the dark. She held something in her hand, a cracked metal cup. She raised it to him with both hands and said, "One word, milk?" Cole blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. "Milk?" He repeated, and she nodded quickly, her tiny body still shaking. Without thinking, he stepped aside and let her in. She moved like a scared animal, quick and low, looking around as if someone might jump out at her. He shut the door behind her and locked it, then led her to the small kitchen table. He poured her a glass of warm milk, left over from the ration supply he barely used. She grabbed the glass with both hands and drank like she hadn't tasted anything in days. Milk dripped from her mouth down her chin, but she didn't stop. Cole watched her silently. She looked barely 10 years old in human terms, but alien biology was hard to guess. She finished the glass and placed it down slowly. Then, without warning, she looked up at him and laughed, not a giggle, but a full laugh, like something was very funny. Cole raised an eyebrow, confused. "What's so funny?" he asked, but the girl didn't answer. Instead, she stood up from the chair, took a few steps toward him, and, without warning, unzipped his pants. Cole froze. Whoa. "Hey," he said, stepping back, his hands flying to his waist. The girl looked up, confused, and said something in her alien tongue. Then she tilted her head as if waiting for something to happen. It took Cole a few seconds to realize what was going on. She wasn't trying anything bad. She wasn't even smiling anymore. Her translator device on her chest blinked red. It was glitching. Cole slowly zipped up again and crouched to her level. "Listen," he said gently. "I don't know what you meant, but that's not how things work here, all right?" She blinked, then pointed to the empty milk glass, then pointed to him and finally at her own chest. She tapped her fingers on it twice, then bowed her head. Her translator clicked and finally spoke. "Gift received, offer returned, submission of thanks. Complete." Cole's eyes widened. Was this a cultural thing? She thought milk was a gift, and in return she was offering herself. He stood and sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "This is messed up," he whispered to himself. She didn't understand, but she kept watching him, quiet and still. She wasn't scared now, but she seemed confused why her return gift had been rejected. He walked to a cupboard, grabbed a blanket, and came back. He wrapped it around her shoulders and led her to the small sleeping bench in the corner. "Sleep," he said softly. "We'll talk in the morning." She nodded slowly, curled up under the blanket, and closed her eyes. Within moments, she was asleep. But Cole couldn't sleep. Not now. He stood at the window and looked out into the cold night. Somewhere in the distance, he saw a flicker of light, too steady to be lightning, too slow to be a passing ship. Someone or something had followed her here. Cole narrowed his eyes. This girl didn't just wander here by accident. And this wasn't just about a glass of milk. Something bigger had just stepped into his quiet little life, and it came barefoot, shivering and smiling. The tiny alien girl was still asleep when Cole woke up the next morning. She had wrapped herself tightly in the blanket, her small hands holding the corner close to her face. Cole moved quietly around the kitchen, trying not to wake her. But his mind was full of questions. Why had she come here? Why did she offer herself after drinking milk? And who was watching from the darkness last night? He poured a new glass of milk and placed it near her. As the warm scent reached her nose, she slowly opened her glowing eyes. She sat up, looked at the milk, then at Cole and smiled. "Gift again?" she said in her broken voice. Cole nodded. "Yes, but no need to give anything back, all right?" The translator on her chest flickered and buzzed. "Gift received. Submission required. Balance honored." No, that's not how it works here," Cole replied, raising a hand. She blinked, confused, and lowered her head. Cole sighed, pulled out a tablet, and activated the universal language tool. He typed in simple sentences and showed it to her. "You are safe here," the screen said. "No need to return anything." She read it, then looked at him again with wide eyes. Her lips trembled, and for a moment, Cole thought she might cry. But then she laughed again, light and musical, and pointed at her translator. "Bad box," she said, tapping it. "Words go boom," Cole chuckled. "Yeah, I noticed." He gently removed the small round translator from her chest and examined it. It was damaged, wires exposed and some circuits burned. No wonder her words were so strange. With a bit of solder and tape, he managed to fix the power. The translator glowed green now, and when she spoke, the voice came through clearly. "Thank you, human protector." That was better, she understood now, or at least a little. Cole sat across from her and asked, "What is your name?" She touched her chest softly. "Ziara," she said, then tilted her head. "Your name?" "Cole," he answered. "Cole Maddox." "Cole," she repeated, nodding slowly. "Milkman." He laughed for the first time in days. Ziara smiled too, but then her expression changed. She looked at the door, her eyes narrowed, her ears twitched. "They look for me," she whispered. "Who?" Cole asked, sitting up straighter. "Hunters," she said quietly. "They want the seed." Cole frowned. "What seed?" Ziara didn't answer. Instead, she drew something in the dust on the table, a symbol, like a star inside a circle, surrounded by triangles. Cole had never seen it before. Ziara placed her hand over the drawing and said, "They put it in me." He felt a chill crawl up his spine. This wasn't just a random girl. There was something important inside her, something people would kill for. A sudden knock at the door made them both jump. It wasn't like last night, soft and scared. This was loud, firm, official. Ziara jumped off the chair and hid behind the cabinet, her eyes glowing with fear. Cole opened a side panel and peeked through the small hidden lens. Outside stood a man in black armor, clean and sharp, with a cold silver helmet. The uniform wasn't from the local colony, not even Earth standard. This was off-world military. Or worse, private hunters. The man spoke into a device. "No sign of her here." He waited, then added, "Yes, we'll scan the area again." Then he walked away. Cole waited a full minute before letting out a slow breath. "They're close," he whispered. Ziara crawled out slowly, shaking. "They find me. They burn me," she said, her voice trembling. "No," Cole said firmly. "Not while you're under my roof." He took her hand. It was small and cold. "We'll figure this out," he said. "Together." Ziara looked at him like no one ever had before, like she finally believed someone could protect her. And for the first time, she leaned her head gently against his arm. "Thank you, Cole Milkman," she whispered. Then she giggled. "Not pants now?" Cole laughed and nodded. "Yes, please, no pants this time." But inside his thoughts raced. What was the seed? Why were hunters after her? And what had he gotten himself into? He walked to the window again, scanning the distant hills. Something was coming, and Cole knew. This was just the beginning. The next morning, Cole found Ziara outside, crouched near a pile of rocks. She had taken his old tool knife and was carving something into the dirt. Her small hands moved fast, her glowing eyes focused. When Cole walked closer, she looked up, startled but then smiled. "What are you drawing?" Cole asked gently. Ziara stepped back so he could see. The marks were messy but clear, 3 circles connected by a triangle. Next to them, she had drawn a tall figure with a burning eye, Cole. crouched beside her. "Who's that?" he asked, pointing at the tall figure. Giara's smile faded. "That is why I ran," she whispered. She sat down on a flat stone and pulled her knees to her chest. For a long moment she said nothing. Then slowly, she spoke, her translator now working clearly. "In my world, girls like me are not born. We are made," she said. "They call us seeds, meant to grow new powers, new weapons." Cole felt a chill rise up his spine. "We are raised in glass, trained to obey, to please, to fight," she continued. "But I did not please." Giara looked up at him, her eyes filled with sadness. "They said I was too weak, too small, too soft. So they threw me out." Cole was quiet for a while. "You escaped?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, with help," she said. A cleaner woman opened the door and whispered, "Run." Cole felt anger boil inside him. Who would do this to a child? Giara hugged herself and whispered, "I ran far, but they followed. They always follow." Cole looked at the carvings again. "What's this symbol mean?" She touched the triangle with her finger. "It's the mark of the seed house," she said. "They brand us inside with code, with memory." Then she pointed to her back. "Mine is still there." Cole stood slowly. "Let me see." Giara hesitated, then turned around and lifted the back of her shirt. There, just below her neck, was a strange silver pattern, like burned metal etched into her skin. When the sun hit it, it shimmered softly. Cole reached out but didn't touch it. It was clearly alien tech. Living code maybe, something not meant for human hands. "Can it be removed?" he asked. Giara shook her head. "It is who I am." Suddenly the wind shifted and Giara's ears twitched. She stood up fast, her eyes locked on the sky. Cole turned too and saw it. A dark shadow moving above the clouds. It was silent, but it was watching. Giara ran toward the house, grabbing Cole's arm. "They found me," she said, her voice shaking. Cole pulled her inside and closed the metal shutters. He grabbed his old rifle from the wall even though he knew it wouldn't do much against orbit tech. The scanner on his desk blinked red. Something had pinged the house. Cole stared at the screen. "They're scanning for your code," he said. "They always find the seed," she whispered, tears starting to form. "I'm tired of running." Cole knelt in front of her. "Then we fight," he said simply. Giara looked up, surprised. "But you are one, they are many." "I may be one," he said, "but I'm human." She blinked, unsure what that meant. Cole smiled and tapped her chest gently. "And you're not weak." Just then the scanner blinked again, but this time it glitched. Giara looked confused, then rushed to the screen. She tapped a few buttons quickly, moving faster than any child should. Cole watched in shock as alien code filled the screen. "You can hack their scan?" he asked. She nodded. "I was taught to enter systems to fool enemies to hide." She pressed one last key and the screen turned green. "They think I ran north," she said with a tired smile. Cole laughed in disbelief. "You're not just a seed," he said. "You're a storm." That night they didn't sleep. They sat near the small heater, planning. Giara showed him a map drawn from memory. A place deep in the mountain. A cave where a seed once hid long ago. There. "I can unlock more," she said. "What kind of more?" Giara hesitated, then said, "My true code, my true voice, my self." Cole nodded. "Then that's where we go." Giara reached for the last bit of milk in the bottle and poured it into 2 cups. One for her, one for Cole. "To not running," she said, raising her tiny cup. "To fighting back," Cole answered. Outside, the shadow passed over them again, but this time it did not stop. It was already chasing a ghost, thanks to the seed who had learned how to hide, and now the girl who once begged for milk was ready to burn the sky. Cole drove the old rover into the mountains. The wheels bounced over rocks, dust filled the air, and the engine made strange sounds. Giara sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes fixed on the sky. They had been on the road since morning, moving toward a place she had only seen in dreams. "I remember stories," Giara whispered. Of an old cave, where no scanner could see. Cole nodded. Then that's where we hide. But in his heart, he knew this wasn't just about hiding anymore. There was something else. Something Giara hadn't told him yet. When the rover stopped to cool down, they found shade under a jagged rock cliff. Giara took off her blanket and sat on the warm stone. She pulled her knees to her chest, her glowing eyes lost in thought. Cole leaned against the rover and said softly, "You said they branded you." She nodded without looking. "And there's a message on your back." Giara hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "They wrote something. Into my skin," she said. "Not words, not in voice. In code." She turned and pulled her shirt up once more, exposing the strange silver marks again. But this time, Cole looked closer. There were patterns, not just symbols. Small, shapes, lines, dots, almost like a map. Cole took out his datapad and scanned the marks. The screen flickered, then beeped. Encrypted file detected. It said, "Unknown origin. Decoding in progress." Giara turned her head, worried. "Will it hurt me?" "No," Cole said gently. "It's just reading the surface." The file opened slowly, line by line. And what came through made Cole's heart stop. Coordinates, instructions, a name and a code clearance labeled Project Wombfire. Cole looked at Giara. "Do you know what this is?" She shook her head. "I was too small. They didn't tell me." According to the file, Giara wasn't just a seed. She was the last seed, the only one who carried a living genetic key that could unlock ancient vaults buried across planets. Weapons, knowledge, machines. Sealed away by a race long gone, the file ended with one final line. "If lost, erase the carrier." Cole stared at that sentence for a long time. Erase the carrier. Not save, not rescue. Erase. "They weren't just chasing you," he said. "They were trying to delete you." Giara's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not a person to them," she whispered. "Just a door, or a virus." Cole clenched his fists. He had known pain before, lost his family to war, seen betrayal, seen death. But this felt different. This was cold. This was planned. He stood up and paced. "Why mark a child like this?" he muttered. "Why give a living being a secret message and then treat her like trash?" Giara pulled her shirt back down and stood slowly. "I don't want to be a key," she said. "I just want to be..." "Giara." Cole turned to her, knelt down and looked her in the eyes. "Then that's what you'll be," he said. "No more code. No more projects. You're not theirs anymore." Just then, his datapad blinked again. Another message had arrived, this one unencrypted, a warning. "We know you have the seed, Cole Maddox. Surrender now or face erasure." His heart raced. They knew his name. They had locked on. Giara stepped beside him, holding the datapad with shaking hands. "They're close," she whispered. "I can feel them." Cole looked around, eyes scanning. "The cliffs. We need to keep moving," he said. But the rover's battery was almost dry. The mountains grew sharper, the paths harder, and behind them, the air shimmered. A scout drone, invisible to most eyes, now watching from the ridge. Giara suddenly reached into her pocket and pulled out a crystal. It pulsed softly, glowing in her hand. "What's that?" Cole asked. "Gift from the cleaner woman who helped me escape," she said. "She told me, if they find you, break this." Without warning, Giara smashed the crystal against the stone. It cracked and a soft sound filled the air, like wind singing. Then, silence, and the drone above fell from the sky. Cole's mouth dropped. "Open. What did you do?" Giara looked confused, then whispered, "I think I erased them instead." The drone's body sizzled as it hit the rocks. Its shell cracked, small sparks flying into the air. Giara stepped back, eyes wide, the broken crystal still glowing faintly in her hand. Cole looked at the wreckage, stunned. "You erased it," he said slowly. Giara looked up at him and nodded. "I didn't know it would work," she whispered. But it did. Cole moved fast, grabbing supplies and tossing them into the rover. That drone wasn't alone, he said. Others will. Come. Giara climbed into the passenger seat, her small hands gripping the edge of the door. As soon as Cole turned the ignition, the rover groaned to life. They drove fast, dust clouds rising behind them as they pushed into deeper mountains. The path grew narrow, sharp rocks tearing at the wheels. Giara kept checking the rear-view screen, her eyes tense. Another one, she said suddenly. Flying high. Cole glanced at the scanner and sure enough a red dot was approaching. He slammed a button, activating the jammer he'd hidden in the engine. The red dot blinked, then disappeared. Giara smiled for a second, then frowned. That won't stop ground units. Cole didn't answer. He knew she was right. 2 hours later, just as the sun began to set, a strange buzzing filled the air. Giara clutched her head and groaned. They're here, she said, her voice shaking. I hear them, calling me. Before Cole could speak, a loud blast shook the ground. The back of the rover exploded, sending fire and metal into the air. Cole grabbed Giara and rolled them both into the dirt, covering her with his body. From behind the trees, armored figures stepped out, 4 of them in black suits with glowing red visors. They didn't speak. One pointed a weapon directly at them. Cole stood slowly, shielding Giara. I'm not giving her up, he growled. The lead soldier raised his gun. Then, without warning, Giara screamed. It wasn't a normal scream. Her voice echoed like a sonic blast, shaking the trees and making the ground tremble. The soldiers staggered, falling to their knees, helmets cracking. Cole turned in shock. Giara's eyes were glowing bright gold now, her skin pulsing with strange light. She stood tall, no longer trembling. Her voice boomed through the valley. I am not your tool. The soldiers dropped their weapons, trying to crawl away. But Giara raised her hand, and a wave of light surged outward. The suits shut down instantly and the soldiers collapsed unconscious. Cole rushed to her side as the glow faded. Giara fell into his arms, weak and shaking. I didn't know I could do that, she whispered, her voice faint. You saved us, Cole said softly, holding her close. She gave a tired smile. You saved me first. They set up camp in a hidden cave as night fell. Cole built a fire from old tech scrap and branches. Giara lay beside it, wrapped in a blanket, her skin still warm from the energy release. You were glowing, Cole said. Your body, it changed. Giara nodded slowly. My true code, she said. It's waking up. I think the message on my back unlocked something. Cole stared at the fire, then said, You're not just a seed. You're a weapon they couldn't control. Giara looked at him and whispered, I don't want to be a weapon. I want to be something good. Cole smiled gently. You already are. Suddenly, a soft humming sound echoed from deeper in the cave. Giara sat up quickly. It's here, she said. The place from my dreams. They followed the sound down a narrow tunnel until they reached a smooth wall of stone. On it was the same symbol Giara had drawn before, the triangle inside the circle. She stepped forward and placed her hand against it. The wall lit up, then slowly opened, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside was a glowing pedestal, and strange machines. A voice filled the air, deep and ancient. Welcome, Giara of Wombfire, it said. Do you bring your guardian? Giara looked at Cole. He stepped forward and said, I'm here, the voice replied. Then the final key is now complete. Suddenly, a beam of light scanned both of them. Giara glowed again, this time calmly. Cole's heart pounded as strange patterns moved up his arm. What's happening? Right, he asked. Giara took his hand and whispered, We're bonded now. You are my guardian. Cole felt a strange warmth in his chest. Not fear, not confusion. Something like belonging, as if the galaxy had just accepted him for something greater. And as the chamber sealed behind them, the system activated. Far above the mountain, satellites turned, codes unlocked, and across the stars. The seed had awakened. The hidden chamber was quiet. Soft lights pulsed across the walls like gentle waves. Cole and Giara stood in the center, holding hands, surrounded by glowing machines older than human memory. The air felt warm and alive, like the cave itself was breathing. "Where are we?" Aunt Cole asked, his voice low. Giara turned slowly, her golden eyes glowing softly. "This is one of the seed vaults," she said. "Places built long ago, by my ancestors." The chamber's voice echoed again, deep and calm. "Genetic key." "Confirmed," it said. "Womb fire activated." Panels slid open in the floor, revealing crystal tubes and strange orbs filled with light. Cole stepped back, unsure. Giara looked at them in silence, her expression unreadable. "They wanted to use these," she whispered, "to restart a war. My people were built to unlock these places and then die." Cole looked at her, sharply. "Die?" She nodded. "Seeds were designed to open the vault, then burn from inside, because no one trusted us to live with what we knew." Cole clenched his fists. "Not anymore," he said. "We're not following their plan," the chamber responded. "Guardian override accepted." Cole blinked. "What?" Giara smiled faintly. "Because you're my guardian now, you can speak for me. This place listens to you too." Cole looked around slowly. Lights flickered as he moved. Machines hummed gently at his steps. He wasn't just a guest here. He was part of the system now, bound by Giara's trust. In the corner of the chamber, a hologram flickered to life. It showed a map of the planet, mountains, rivers, forests, and deep underground tunnels. But what caught Cole's eye were the red blinking dots. "What are those?" Giara stepped forward, frowning. "Other vaults," she said, "and enemies trying to reach them." The red dots moved slowly, crawling across the map like hunters. 3 days, Giara whispered, "before they reach us." Cole turned to her. "Can we move the vault? Or shut it down?" She shook her head. "It's alive now," she said. "Once open, it breathes. It sings." As if to prove her words, a soft melody began to play from the chamber's walls, not loud, not harsh, but beautiful. It sounded like voices, millions of voices singing in harmony. Giara smiled, her eyes wet. "I heard this when I was a baby," she said. "In the glass womb." Cole stepped beside her. "It's beautiful," he said. But then his datapad beeped. Sharply, a new message, no words, just a live feed, a view from above the mountains, showing a fleet, not just one ship, but dozens, black, silent, sharp like knives hovering in the clouds above. "They're here," Cole said quietly. Giara looked up, her smile gone. "They won't wait," she whispered. "They'll burn the whole mountain to get me." The chamber's voice spoke again. "Emergency protocol. Transfer core to Guardian." A small hatch opened beside them, revealing a glowing sphere. It floated silently, then flew toward Giara. She reached out. But the orb moved past her. It stopped in front of Cole. "What's happening?" he asked. Giara's voice was soft. "The vault. It trusts you. It's giving you the seed core." The orb touched his chest and dissolved into his body. Cole gasped as light spread through his veins. For a moment he saw flashes. Stars, ships, wars, memories that weren't his. Then everything faded and the chamber fell silent. Giara looked at him amazed. "You're glowing," she said. Cole felt stronger, faster, clearer. "I feel everything," he whispered. "Like the planets talking to me." Suddenly the ground shook. Explosions echoed from above. The fleet had started bombing. Dust fell from the cave ceiling, cracks formed on the walls. The chamber screamed, "Structural breach in 7 minutes." Giara ran to the map. "There's a tunnel," she said. "It leads to the valley below. Old escape path for the seed mothers." Cole grabbed a pack, helped Giara up and ran toward the tunnel door. As they ran, the chamber began to collapse behind them. Fire followed them like a wave, but the door closed just in time, sealing the vault forever. They ran through the tunnel, breathless, the light from Cole's body guiding the way. Giara limped, her leg burned slightly from falling rocks. Cole lifted her in his arms without thinking. She looked up at him and whispered, "You carry me." Even when I'm heavy. You're not heavy, he said. You're the reason I'm still standing. When they finally reached the valley, the mountain behind them roared. The vault was gone, buried again in dust and silence. But the seed was safe. And now it lived inside a human. Cole placed Giara down gently under a tree. She looked up at the stars. We don't run anymore, she said. No, Cole agreed. Now, we fight. The valley below the mountain was quiet. The stars blinked gently above, and cool night winds moved through the trees like whispers. Cole sat beside the fire, holding Giara's hand. Her head rested on his lap. Her breathing, slow and uneven, had passed out from exhaustion. The journey through the escape tunnel had taken everything from her. Her small frame trembled now and then, and her skin had lost some of its glow. Cole looked down at her, brushing her hair back gently. You did it, he whispered. You saved both of us. But Giara didn't reply. Her eyes were closed, her body too weak to speak. He knew she was still alive, but barely. Something inside her was fading. Then Cole remembered the orb, the seed core, that had merged with him. He could still feel it, like a second heartbeat. The vault had trusted him, and maybe that meant there was something he could do. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her tighter. Then he dug through the bag for anything left. Food rations, empty bottles, tools, nothing useful. Until he found it. One last bottle of milk, it was, warm from being carried in the bag. The seal cracked slightly, but it was still clean. Cole smiled bitterly. Milk again, he said softly. Always comes back to milk. He poured it into the cracked metal cup, the same one Giara had held. That first night on his doorstep, he lifted her gently and brought the cup to her lips. Come on, he said. Just a little. She stirred faintly, her lips parting. Cole helped her sip slowly, drop by drop. The milk touched her tongue and she swallowed. Then she blinked once, and again. Her eyes opened just a little, glowing. Weakly. Gift. Received. She whispered, her voice soft as air. Cole chuckled through tears. No gifts in return, he said. Just stay awake. But her eyes closed again, and her hand slipped from his. Cole felt panic rise. Giara. Suddenly, the glow in his chest pulsed. The seed core inside him responded to her fading life. Without thinking, he pressed his hand against her back, where the message had once been. Light flowed from his body into hers, warm and golden. The glow spread through her skin, her veins, her breath. Giara gasped, her body arching as the energy filled her. Then she collapsed into his arms again, silent, for a terrifying second. Nothing moved. Then, she opened her eyes fully. The golden glow had returned, stronger than before. Her body shimmered like starlight. She sat up slowly, looking at her hands. I feel whole, she whispered. The seed is awake. Cole smiled and pulled her into a hug. You scared me, he said, his voice shaking. She leaned into him, her small arms wrapping around his back. I'm sorry, she whispered, but I knew you wouldn't let me go. The next morning, the sky above the valley changed. Dark ships that had hovered above began to fall back. Giara stood on a rock, arms raised, her voice echoing with command. From her body, signals pulsed into the sky. Ancient codes, known only to seed mothers. She wasn't just a child anymore. She wasn't running, she was calling them off, and they listened. Cole watched from the ground, silent. Giara's glow faded gently as the last ship vanished beyond the clouds. She turned back toward him, smiling. It's over, she said. They won't hunt me anymore. Cole walked up and nodded. No, he replied, because now they know who you are, and who you're with. Giara tilted her head. You mean, my guardian? He smiled. Something like that. They returned to the small farm weeks later. The house was just as he left it. Dusty, quiet, lonely. But now it felt different. Because it wasn't just his home anymore. Giara helped fix the garden, washed the tools, and even painted stars on the kitchen wall. One night she brought out 2 glasses, filled with milk from the new supply ship. She handed one to Cole, grinning. "To life," she said. He raised his glass. "To the girl who changed everything." They drank under the stars, and for the first time in a long time, there was no fear, no running, just peace. Giera curled up beside the fire, wrapped in her blanket. As she drifted off, she whispered something soft. "Cole?" "Yeah?" he answered. "I'm glad I knocked on your door." He smiled and whispered back, "So am I." And somewhere far away, across the stars, other seed vaults stirred. Doors opened silently, and the galaxy slowly began to change because of a tiny alien girl and the man who gave her a glass of milk.